This year we started taking the SBAC test, and basically would ask you questions about how you felt about, or what you did that year, or about what you were learning, or about how you could learn things. They gave you a tutorial on how to learn the buttons so you weren't confused, and it was the first year I've done it on a computer.
I felt nervous, but then after a little bit, it wasn't so bad that much.
It took less time than it would on paper because on paper it usually take 2 or 3 hours, but on the laptops it take 1 or 2 hours, and I'm a really good typer, so it took me less time to do the longer questions.
The spell check, underlining, italic, bold. You couldn't change the font, you couldn't do any of that. There was spell check, weirdly.
Well, there was like vocabulary words, like you could highlight it and it would say what the meaning was, but like from some harder words you weren't able to highlight it.
You have a mouse, and it's easier than doing it on paper because if you bubble it incorrectly, then they'll mark it wrong because they ask you just to stay inside the little bubble, and if you go outside that bubble, then they'll mark it wrong.
There were like notes, and
you could flag it for if you couldn't remember now, you could go back later and try to remember it later.
I like the way how it asks you, are you sure you want to go on before you review any questions? So that will make sure, just in case there's one question you're not sure about.
And another good thing was during the reading, you didn't have to, like in the SBAC test on the paper, you would read this thing and then you would have to read the questions and then go back and find the answer. Well, on the SBAC test, all you had to do was scroll down and it would be right there and then you could type.
It was exercising your brain, like how a basketball coach would or a football coach would. So it makes sure that it keeps you on your toes, and it's great for evaluation to figure out where you're at and how you're doing. The worst of things that I thought, I'm not in college yet, why am I doing this? But usually when you get into those kind of problems, use common sense, such as if you don't know what 5x is and the only answer is 10, then you kind of put 2 and 2 together and you get 2.
I like the way the pause is only 20 minutes. It may sound weird, but it makes sure that somebody can't cheat on the test.
And don't cheat, it's not worth it, and you can't even cheat on the test. You can try, but everybody gets randomized questions, or questions that are your level.
And the bad thing about the SBAC was my computer kept glitching and I had to start the questions over, and it got really aggravating because like if your answer was really long, you would have to type all of that over, and that was the only bad part for me.
It was interesting. I mean, there were a few glitches here and there, but those glitches, when you discover them, can really relieve any built-up stress and just give you a good laugh. Really, the only true preparation for the test is paying attention in class, because you don't actually truly know what will be on your personal test.
Using the Acer was really fun. I'd rather go on the Acer than having to go over to the lab and having to work there for like 3 hours and then finally get called out. And then we go and then rinse and repeat for the next 3 weeks.